Hi, I'm Zoe Hewitt. You are at AFTERBUZZ TV's Spotlight On. Today I'm in studio with Monica Lacy. You may recognize her from more than 200 commercials. You may recognize her from the new Amazon series, The Kicks. And you may recognize her because you've seen her sister. She is a triplet. More right after this.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I love the claps.
I know. You cannot go wrong with clapping.
I feel so good about myself now.
Yeah. And I like that it keeps going, too.
Yeah, keep it on.
Trails, yeah. For anyone who is new to one of my Spotlight Ons, I love the clapping. I love starting with it. It sounds like we are in a studio filled with 300 people, but we are not. We have a one studio audience member. We're happy to have her here. And Monica is in studio with me today. So as we get started, Monica, where can everyone find you on social media?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Mon Lacy, and also Instagram. That's probably my favorite, at Mon Lacy as well. I also have a website, monicalacy.com.
So lots of spots to come and find you.
Yes, if you just know my name, and it's Lacy, no E. Everybody puts an E in there. L-A-C-Y,
That is useful.
Little tippy tip.
And I'm Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's Zoe Said What. Now, Monica, as we said in the teaser, you have been in more than 200 commercials, which is almost an unfathomable number. That is a lot. Do people come up to you all the time and say, I think I recognize you from, but they can't quite get there?
Yes, that's the short answer. Yes, commercials have been very good to me, and I'm just super fortunate and lucky, and I've just always done a bunch of commercials, and I love it. I just did one last year with a live Kodiak bear. I mean, where can you do that? Like, really, where can you do that? So I'm really lucky. If somebody came up to me, usually they come up to me and go, I saw you the other night. Yeah. Or they feel like we've known each other even though we've never met.
And I feel like with a TV show, that happens a lot, but people can eventually place you. But with 200 plus commercials, that's a lot of trying to place someone.
True.
So what's the most exciting thing you've done on a commercial set?
Well, the bear was pretty exciting. I mean, it's a giant Kodiak bear, and we all had to sit down and not eat and be, they kept the whole studio, I think, at a bear comfortable temperature, which was freezing, but the bear was really comfy.
As you want the bear to be.
As you want the bear to be happy, super happy. I guess for AutoNation, I did a whole bunch of like adventure-y ones. Like I think I did one where I pretended to be, what's that,
rock climbing?
Yeah, what's that thing where you're coming down on the rope? I don't really do it.
Rock reversing?
Yeah, like a rock creation kind of place. And of course we got a call. Somebody said that my thing wasn't tied correctly. And I was like, do they know it's acting? And I was only 4 feet off the ground. But it was fun. I also got to do like shooting arrows, and I had to hit do an arrow and pretend, all this green screen stuff. It's always fun to do it because it looks real and through the magic of TV, but you're not really doing it.
It does, and it's so much fun. And I love in one of your AutoNation commercials how you sort of slide in. You must be, I guess, on something with wheels.
Yes, there was nothing special except I was on a big giant thing with wheels, like a skateboard, and they slide you in, which was fun. I didn't fall, which was good. Those were fun too. They've had so many fun concepts. I've worked with several different directors and a lot of good concepts and comedy. And now I'm working with the Roadrunner, the Roadrunner. And
Who's very famous.
He's very famous. He even has handlers that say how tall he has to be because you're shooting. Now, he's not really in the frame with me when we're shooting, but I have to know how high he is. Right. And there's a whole team of lawyers that have decided that in advance.
And so do they use a puppet or something on a stick so you have that eye line?
They use like a giant blow-up, like a photo of him. And he's a little bit shorter than me. FYI, in case you're wondering.
I love that. Yeah. That's a bit of Roadrunner knowledge.
Yeah, a little piece of info. And then you have to they'll tell me, oh, now he leaves. And they'll go, faster, he's leaving faster. Whatever it is. I'm like, oh, okay. But it's fun. I love all that.
It is fun, I think, especially when you get to do things with characters that are so well known, like working with the Muppets, for instance.
Right.
Something that's iconic, like the Roadrunner, which
Sure.
is very cool. And right now, you're also working on a really cool Amazon series, The Kicks. Now, for people who aren't familiar with it, why don't you tell us a little bit about the show and what you're doing on it?
Okay, well, The Kicks is based on a young adult novel series written by Alex Morgan of USA Women's National Soccer Team fame. And she wrote the series of books about her life, and the show is based on that. And so I basically play Alex Morgan's mom. And the family in real life as well moved from the East Coast, Connecticut, to Southern California when she was 12. And the show is kind of just a sweet family show that something for everybody, kids, boys, girls, everybody will enjoy it. Soccer fans especially will enjoy it. But there's all the great stuff in a good family show with normal things happening, and it's got a lot of heart, and you may shed a tear. There'll be cliffhangers every week, and it kind of culminates in a really great cliffhanger, which made me cry when I watched it. So it's just really got everything. It's kind of my favorite kind of show.
Well, because it's so wholesome. And I feel like in some ways it's a throwback to those really great wholesome family shows that you want to sit down with your family and watch and you talk about. And it's like the good, like the Full House and the Family Matters that you really sit, and they have good messages. And that's what I love about the Kicks too. It's a strong female lead. She's a great soccer player. She moves, but she's not letting anyone push her around. So great messaging.
It's so great because I have a daughter too who's 12, and it's the kind of show I was looking for to watch with my kids. They want to watch, and I also have a 14-year-old boy. They want to watch shows that are far more advanced, like Game of Thrones. I'm like, no, and or shows that portray teenage girls, especially dating and wearing fashion. All they care about is their makeup and how do they look, or being famous. And so it's a show that's actually about just those gentle things that happen to all of us, like getting pushed around by a mean girl, or having to move because of your dad's job, or competition on a team. And every single person has been on a team. Every single person has had to make a kind of a crappy team work out. And so it's something that there's like so many on-ramps to enjoying the show. Plus I've always loved sports movies, and like Rudy and Hoop Dreams, and this has all those really great soccer sequences that are great too. So it's and the messages are phenomenal too. So
and I think your point is accurate, that it has a little something for everyone. So no matter what you're looking for, it fits in, that it pulls that, if not heartstring, it pulls that thing that's sort of deep in you that makes you want to respond to it. And when we were chatting earlier too, it was interesting to note that your life is a little bit similar to your characters as well, isn't it?
That's true. It's funny, I hadn't seen the connection you made. For sure, it's similar in that my kids are in real life the same age as my TV kids on the show. So I instantly fall right into, that very specific time in your life when your kids are not kids. They're kids, but they're growing up and starting to become teenagers. Don't want you in the room all the time. They don't want you hovering all the time. And so it's just so easy to drop into that. But also, Sharon, my character, has moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, and her main job is keeping all her kids and her husband kind of all going while she's secretly putting on a brave face, but she's kind of lonely. She doesn't have any friends, and she's starting a new business, and of course she idealizes it. LA is the greatest place to have to start out on a new, party planning business, event planning. And of course, it's actually not so ideal. And she has a little struggle, which is so real. And most shows only show maybe just the kids struggle or the parents struggle. But I like that this one shows that it's not just about the kids. It's also the parents are struggling. And they're shown as real people. They're not perfect.
Right.
And it's just that simple, regular things that everybody's dealing with, and that kind of a show is not around anymore.
Right.
It's not around. Like, I loved the Brady Bunch. That was such a modern family show when I was a kid, or like, and now there's just not anything. Everything has such a high concept, and so this is just a sweet concept. And the fact that it focuses on a girl could not make me happier. And her main goal is to become a good athlete. We've never seen that on TV.
No.
Growing up, just having watched the Olympics, there was no team sport of girls. I played soccer, but they were not on TV, and I didn't know any of the players. And I didn't really relate to the figure skaters or the gymnasts at the time, or Jackie Joyner Kersey, for obvious reasons. So today, these kids have these awesome role models, and so this just kind of helps bring it closer to them, because many kids are obsessed with soccer. And if it's not soccer, it's another sport. And there's something there that rings true with everybody.
And I like that it doesn't also rely on those old stereotypes, too, that if you are a girl playing a sport, well, then you can't be interested in boys, too. You can't have these other things that are part of everyday life. It's like, I feel like a lot of times we get sort of sectioned off. You can be this or this. But what's lovely about the show is that it's everyone.
Right. And it's not, because life is not simplistic like that. Right. And a lot of shows treat stereotypes with kids very simplistically. You'll be the smart one, you'll be the popular one, and you're the athlete. When in reality, we're kind of all those things. We really are. I remember when I was in high school, I'm a triplet, and somebody came up to me and they go, "Hey, are you the smart one, the athlete, or the airhead. And I was like, I think I'm the airhead, but I'm really smart, and I'm an athlete too. And I remember that was when I realized for the first time that everybody's dying to classify you. And that can definitely not be helpful when you're still forming and you want to. But it was also helpful because I remember thinking, I don't want to be that airhead. And darn it, I was making, I started to kind of try to make different choices to be seen. But the world is always trying to categorize you. They're always trying to tell you, you fit in this box or you fit in that box. And at some point, it's not so helpful for girls who are sitting at home going, I don't see a representation of me on TV. You don't have to be so weird and different to be on TV. You can just be a normal kid at school, and have normal things going on. And that's worth depicting on TV.
And it's nice that Amazon is the one doing this too, because I feel like we've seen this shift away from the main networks. Then we started seeing HBO becoming more popular. And now it's Netflix and Amazon that are really coming out with a lot of quality shows that people appreciate, that really resonates. And then we're seeing it recognized as well through lots of awards. That it's becoming not just, Amazon happens to be making TV, but Amazon's making good TV that we should watch.
And that is key, because it used to be maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, there was definitely the ugly stepsister of network TV was anything else.
Right.
Now you see Amazon and Netflix are pouring money into great writers, A-list directors, A-list talent, great shows. The quality is there. And I think they're for instance, with The Kicks, they're trying to make a family show in a new way. There's no laugh track. They're trying to make it a real thing, a real representation. I don't see, and I say good for them. And the people have spoken. They voted for it. They wanted to see more of it. And they almost unanimously all love the same thing I love, which I think is so democratic. It's so cool that people can say, hey, this is the kind of show I want to watch, and please make more. And then they do. Right. And it's cool. It's that feeling of they're not just creating from a box of 5 guys in a room deciding what all of America is going to see. And it kind of it opens it up to all kinds of stories and voices. And I think, Disney and Nickelodeon are fabulous locations for children's TV, but Amazon has something new to offer, and they're really making a play for that. And I think it's really cool.
And it's becoming what HBO, what people used to think of, suddenly there's this other spot for great TV. And that's happening. And for anyone who doesn't know what Monica was mentioning about people voting, one of the things that Amazon has done really, really uniquely is that they've made a lot of pilots, and then people can actually go on and vote for which shows they want to see, which also has some pros and cons. It makes me think of Friends starting out, and Friends did terrible in its first year.
That's right. Or
no one wanted to watch.
Seinfeld was on the verge of getting yanked the first 2 or 3 years, and they stuck it out and retooled it. I know, I guess it could have gone more south for me, but it was also thrilling, because normally when I do a pilot, you do a show and you just get a call one day. It got picked up or it got canned, and no one ever sees it. This, we knew it was going to get out there, and everybody saw it, and I could read through, and you could read all the comments, and I really felt it was very transparent in that way. And it was exciting, because you can't lie. You can't, or the numbers don't lie. Right. And so, it was exciting. But everything else, it's just like a regular network show, for those people wondering. It's big budgets and great actors, and the talent now, there's no stigma. In fact, if anything, it seems almost cool to go and have, a show on one of these networks. I mean, these non-networks.
These non-networks.
The streaming networks.
Because it's pioneering. It's a whole new realm. And what's interesting, too, is when people can leave comments. Of course, you get trolls in most places, but you can really see how people are reacting. Like you said, that it's not this once removed, or even once shows are shot, then a lot of times, the episodes are done. If you haven't shot the whole season already, at least, you're so far down. But this, being able to see, oh, look, we did it. Our work is here. And look, people love us. This is great. This is fun.
Yep. And it's shocking how many people said almost the same exact thing, just reworded slightly different. I mean, it was 90% of the comments were almost the same. And it was gratifying to say, ooh, they agree with me, and how cool. And also just to get that feedback. Usually, like I said, I don't get any feedback. I've done lots of pilots no one's ever seen. So it's fun to have people see it. And I'm proud of it. You can't not be proud of a show that you work on really hard, and it really grew into something. It was so exciting to finally, after we did the pilot, to finally get the first couple scripts and see how they took this one concept and then ran with it and went deeper on all the storylines, and they added a few juicy characters, and it just was so exciting to see it evolve and to see pieces that maybe we also kind of brought to the table as our characters, how it probably was different and surprising even to the writers from what they may have envisioned right away. So it was just, it's so gratifying just to have people see your work. And then to like it.
Which is always nice.
If you have a bad comment, just keep it to yourself.
Right. But, we don't need those.
Yeah, no. But.
And so did it also feel good to you to bring your daughter to set, and your son as well, but your daughter in particular, and see like, hey, here's a show with a young lead. And all the actors I have to say on the show too are really good. And sometimes
so good.
I have to say with kids, and I hate to say it, sometimes it's hit and miss.
Oh my gosh.
And you just have to go with the fact, okay, they're cute and that's okay.
Yeah.
But the kids on the show too, everyone's really strong.
It's amazing. It felt like I've never been on a show thus far where absolutely every single person there was just so psyched to be there. There was nobody that was like, I'm above this. I shouldn't be here. I'm too good. Everybody was so psyched to be there, and the kids were fantastic. When we did the what do they call that? The chemistry read. When you come in, you don't quite have the part yet, but you're real close. They bring you in, and they bring in like a couple different moms and daughters and sons, and they read you. And as soon as I met them, we had amazing chemistry, and I went, that's so cool. Like, it just worked. And Piper has, my kids have read the scripts. They've met the kids. They know them. And one day Piper said, you know what I think? I think Six is a great role model for me. And I said, oh my gosh, I could not agree more. I mean, here's a little girl who moved out from Maryland to pursue her dream of being an actress and being hopefully an Olympic soccer player one day. I mean, she's accomplished in 2 areas what people wait their whole lives to do. I don't know anybody that is so advanced in those 2 things at such a young age. And she is. She works so hard, never complained. The kids did not complain. They were pros. And I kept saying, aren't you guys tired? You guys work so hard. And in between, when I get to take a break, they have to go do school.
Right.
And I started when I was about 16 in acting, and I don't remember how hard I must have worked on school. But you don't really get a break because you're either filming, remembering all your lines, then you step out of it and have to, these poor kids go do 20 minutes of school and then come back and have to step right back in and work. And it is work. It's hard work. And they were fantastic. Gabe Eggerling, Six Orange, Isabella Akers is fabulous as the snotty potty bad girl, mean girl. And I love how they develop her character because in real life, people don't hate each other for the whole season. They don't change who they are either. And I love how they learn to the relationship develops and they discover things, and it's just so awesome. And I've never seen that portrayed in such a realistic way. And I'm thrilled for my own daughter to watch that and go, oh look, I see. Have her show compassion for the mean girl because you can kind of see behind why Mean Girl is acting that way, and to see that it's just a mask. And that was like one of the first times I went, yay, this is so good for kids, because it's not so simplistic like you're bad, you're good. Right. They're people acting because of what's gone on in their lives and how they're feeling, and that kind of emotional intelligence is what I'm doing at home with my own kids, trying to get them to understand. And you can't keep them away from all the bumps and bruises and the mean things that happen, but you can help them to understand what's happening, and you see why kids are acting that way. So that was just one of my favorite things about it.
And that's life. That's the thing. We were chatting earlier about, guilty pleasures of young adult novels. But I think that one of the things they managed to tap into is that there is so much of life. It's not like we can go, oh, it's a young adult novel, but it hits those notes that resonate with all of us, no matter what age we are, because there's always a mean girl. It might not be a little girl anymore. It might be an adult woman, might be a man, but there's that person. There are always those dynamics that you have to work with.
It's almost like they touch on those same hurts that you maybe felt in high school. They kind of repeat over and over again in your life. Sorry, kids. But it's kind of true. And it's when the book or the movie or the TV show so perfectly shows that hurt that you go, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I felt. And, like I was on a bad team once, and I see the struggle of, wanting to have friends or whatever it is. And I'm hoping the parents enjoy watching it too, and see themselves in my character and in Tim, who plays my husband on the show, because we both have like struggles too, you know, in trying to keep it all together. And you just want to be a good parent. You just want to be a good parent. You don't want to make mistakes, and you're really most likely doing a great job, you know, but we don't get told that a lot. And so it's nice just to see it on TV and go, oh, phew. Because I know as a parent, I get offended when I watch a family show or a kids show and I go, where are the parents? They haven't even come in this whole episode. Were they ever there? And in real life, guess what? The parents are there.
Right.
And in real life, there are consequences. In real life, parents want to have a bit of an influence, but realistically, not tons. But they want to be there. And I think most of America is just trying to be a great parent. And with the parents, the people that hopefully will clue in and relate in that way. So.
And so one of my favorite lines in the pilot was that the GPS said in Los Angeles, basically, it takes 54 minutes to get anywhere. Right. So there are also a lot of sort of fun jokes like that, that if you're in LA, you get, because traffic here is horrible.
Oh my gosh. And one of the fun other lines that makes, like later on in another episode, we're waiting all night and we think we're stood up because some of the workers are supposed to come over. And basically he's like, have you heard of a sig alert? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying, but we're glad you're here. Because like a sig alert, I mean, I if you live in LA, that means that there's something on the freeway and you're going to be at least 54 minutes to wherever you're going. And so there's so many fun things that they, throughout the whole season 1, about Southern California and about moving there. And it made me kind of really, really appreciate living here. That's one way I'm not like the character, because I'm from Southern California. And so I have no idea what it's like to come from a cold, snowy climate and, you know, suddenly have all these famous people around and all the, you know, there's just, things are different and it's fun. Like they kind of poke fun at it in a sweet, funny way. And our son in the show, Gabe Eggerling, has a lot of funny lines. He's kind of at the beginning of the first episode, he's kind of like the chorus, the Greek chorus, making fun of us all from behind, you know, and he's hilarious. Like so many times they would yell cut and I would start laughing. It's hilarious. So.
And so did you go somewhere cold to research for your role?
No, but I did start a Pinterest page like every good mom would, right?
About snow?
Well, about Connecticut. Because I was like, I literally got so into it. I'm like, wait, would a Connecticut mom wear what I'm wearing?
Oh my God, I love that.
It's so silly because I think in general, yes, I think we all kind of generally, they might wear a few brighter colors during the summer. In general, we're all kind of the same. But I was like, you know, pinning homes and kitchens and outfits and style. And then after a while, I was like, kind of like where I live. You know, it's not too different. But it's a little slower pretty much everywhere, I guess, because I live in the heart of a big city. So it's a little bit more slower.
But I love that you had a Pinterest board to prep.
It's classic. And what's funny is later on in the show, I think I have a Pinterest page. It's mentioned, and I'm thinking, did that come from me? Or was that about, you know, it's almost like we're becoming one, the character Sharon and Monica. But it's so true, you know. It's fun. You got to embrace it. Like and one day we're going to laugh and go, remember we did Pinteresting? Oh my gosh, we were so lame. You know, but
whatever
right now,
the new thing is after that.
Whatever the new thing is now. My kids are like, oh, Mom, Instagram is so for parents. And I was like, how do you do this story? And they're like, don't even try. Don't go there. That's just trying to be Snapchat. And we're already long gone from Snapchat on to something else. And so I feel behind. And I think that just happens when you become
part
a
of
parent.
life.
And again, that's something I guess you start to accept when your child is on the precipice of being a teen. You have to accept that you're not cool anymore to them and to a lot of people. And guess what? It's so awesome. I love not being cool. I love not having to compete. It's so great. I'm like, hey, literally I came home when I just chopped my hair like 4 inches and I walk in and my daughter goes, oh, awful. Like she couldn't look at it. And it's so funny because I was like, you know what? I'm so glad you're not my audience. You know, like I can do whatever I want. It's so freeing to be dorky and nerdy and wally and uncool. It's freeing. It's actually good for comedy. So.
And you did stand up at some point too, right? Was it Behind the Orange Curtain? You grew up in Orange County?
Yes, actually. I did a lot of my past, because I had a very unusual, apparently, upbringing, being identical triplet girl.
And raising goats.
And I did, yes, I lived on an urban farm, and I was in 4-H, and I raised dairy goats, and showed them in the fair. I mean, I was the full-on farmer. People are always surprised. I'm like, why is that so surprising? Don't I look like I know what I'm doing? But, yeah, and I just lived a very different, you know, apparently different life. And so I kind of made fun of my whole my life. My grandma and grandpa, they came into the act, and a lot about being a triplet and how I was hair obsessed, and just kind of, you can only really, if you're writing from your truth, your truth comes out. I remember one time I'm in an audience where this African American guy's 15 or 20, and he's up there killing about inner city jokes, and then I get up and I'm like, okay, here's my Orange County, being a triplet and the dairy goats, and I remember everybody was just staring, like almost like, who is she? What's she saying? I don't know what she's saying. Nobody had a clue. And I realized, okay, it's okay. Like, I have a different message. But it was just, you can only, I would have been lying to try to be hip and urban and all that. I didn't ride a bus. Okay. I just rode the metro for the first time in LA. It's just, you are who you are, and hopefully being truthful, somebody will relate with that truthful thing. I think the more specifically truthful you are, the more universal it becomes.
And stand-up, too, a lot of times comes from places of hurt as well. And so I imagine, and we were chatting a little bit as well about being a triplet, and for you it's sort of so old hat, but for people like me, I mean, not only am I not a triplet, surprise, but I'm an only child. So for me, it's especially like mind-boggling because I cannot put myself in this place to even imagine. But one of the things that I do imagine is that it must be very difficult to constantly be asked, oh, so you're a triplet, that it's something that you can't get away from no matter how much you may want to at times.
That's a good point. People always go, what was it like? And I guess years ago I realized it was normal. It was normal people, because my normal was what I had. Just like I don't know what it's like to be an only child. But after I became a parent, I do concede that it is interesting that there was 3 little kids, and I compare everything to my own kids, and my son is starting high school on Monday, and he's going to enter that campus all by himself. I had a posse. I had 2 people, and I was still petrified, to start high school, and yet I had literally a team everywhere I went, and I'm really grateful. I think it definitely made me who I am. I mean, I for sure tried things I never would have tried because I was like, let me get away from these 2 people. Ugh. I just wanted to be me. And I guarantee you that is the roots of my acting. Some psychologist could be listening and tell me if that's true. I want to be seen, and seen so much, because so many people just see 3 girls and hear us all talking at once. And it's hard. And so I think I'm trying harder than most.
And that feeling of being interchangeable but not, like, how was it to walk into school and have people say, and which one are you? Which sister are you?
I know. Gosh, it's so
to
painful.
me, that just seems so difficult.
It was so hard. It was so painful to find out that your best friends didn't know who you were. Like, we thought we were so identified. Like, we think we look so different and we act so different. And when somebody goes, wait, which one are you? And you're like, oh, I thought you were my dear friend. But I understand we did look a lot alike.
Identical, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. I remember one time somebody came up to, gosh, was it me or Joy? And they came up to one of us and said, oh, and then my sister Joy came running up to me and she goes, okay, listen, so-and-so, her parents just got divorced. She's really upset. She thought it was you, but it was me. She told me X, Y, Z. So just don't act surprised. Remember, you're supposed to know this. Okay, go. And I was like, okay. Gotta remember that, because you kind of are pretending. You also are pretending. I remember doing this a lot in high school. I would make sure that everybody knew which one I was. So I would say like, oh yeah, well Joy's in there and Leanna's over there. So I decided to come over, because you're constantly kind of making others okay and comfortable and helping to categorize you. It wasn't until the last couple of years that I'm like, so you don't know who I am. Like, who cares? Like, I guess that's one of the gifts of age, is that you start to not worry about other people's comfort so much. I think I spent so much of my life making everybody else comfortable that, or answering just questions. Strangers. Okay, so tell me what it was like, your poor mother. Did you know you were going to be triplets before you were born? Did you switch around on boys? And it's hard because I understand it is interesting. When I meet people that are identical, have identical twins and triplets, I always go, tell me about it, because it's interesting. So I get it. But it's also, it was not without its pain. And I think one of the obvious ones is we all are desperate to be individuated and different and seen as being different.
Yeah, and I was going to say, from your armchair psychology, same thing. So much of that desperation, I don't want to say, that makes it sound bad, but so much of the need to feel recognized, because just trying to imagine what is it like for, right, your best friend to not know who you are, when so much of our identity is who we are.
Exactly. I love you. You know, hopefully somebody can write that down and text me, because that really sums it up. It's so true. It's hard to make an identity too when you share the same face, the same general bag of good things that you do. Like, we were all outgoing. We all were pretty good in running, and we ran track, and we played soccer, and we had the same stuff. So especially it was painful when we didn't all succeed at the same thing. So I remember, this is horrible, but it was doesn't hurt as much anymore. But in senior year, homecoming queen, all three of us, all the senior girls are eligible, and you go before this committee, and they interview you, and you leave, and wouldn't you know it, Joy and Leanna both made the homecoming court, and I didn't. I remember going home and said, well, the tribe has spoken. They saw right through me. I am a sham. I'm a total loser. I am not worth it. Nobody thinks, no one sees any value in me. And I had a very kind person tell me, you know what, if this is the worst thing that ever happens to you, it's okay. And she also said, she was also allowed me to just say, yeah, that stinks. Right. It totally stinks. Because you don't want to feel bad, because then you're feeling bad for yourself and not happy for your two sisters.
Right. Oh, and what a complicated spot to be in. But what's interesting about that story, too, is that you don't have to be a triplet to have that feeling or to go through that. You might feel a little differently. You might feel torn a little more because they're not just your sisters, but they're your identical sisters, right, which maybe puts it at another level. But you can go through that feeling of desperately wanting something and not quite getting there, right, without being a triplet. I mean, look at the Olympics. I mean, it just happened.
Oh, it's so painful. Like watching so super qualified people that should have gone on to the next level, or should have, like the women's soccer team, so deserve to go on. I mean, they're the best in the world. I still think that. And it's so hard to see in a shootout the dream is lost. And so I do agree with that. And we all compare ourselves. I possibly compare myself a little bit more to my two sisters. Now I don't, because, well, now I don't as much, if I'm being really honest. But I think we all do it. You're right. And I find I have a lot in common with people who have sisters, because I think having a sister is complicated. And mine is just like times 3. It was all what you had with your sister, only times 3. A lot of that same stuff is very similar.
Well, having those shared similar experiences.
Yes.
And that's no different than, again, people with, say, a boy and a girl becoming really good friends, because you know what it's like to have a boy and a girl in your house versus someone who maybe only has a girl, like my mom did.
Well, we laugh because Leanna will say a story from, one of my sisters will say a story from when we were growing up, and I'm like, hello, what house were you in? Because this is how I saw it. And my other sister will be like, you guys are both wrong. Where were you guys? Because it was really like this. And I'm like, wow, we lived the exact same perspective, the same amount of years, and yet we all took away something different from it. Yeah. And I think that's, again, very universal, because you and I could be sorority sisters, and we would take away something very different from what someone says or what happened or our perspective on what really went down. So I'm starting to see that it's not just me. I'm not the only persecuted person on the earth. Other people have their troubles too.
Well, as we wrap up, I know that there are also many wonderful things about being a triplet. So what is your favorite I'm a triplet, haha, you're not story?
Oh, boy. Well, was there any good things? The best is that you are never alone, for sure. I'm also very used to and very aware of being stared at. And I used to think it was because I started acting at 16, and it's because I'm with my two sisters. That always will get a good stare. And I'm not even aware of it, but other people will say, everybody is staring. Why are they all staring? And I'm like, I didn't even notice, because I think it's so in that way. I'm trying to think of one big, great thing.
Like that changing identity. I read those Sweet Valley High books, and those sisters changed identities.
We did that once, but like I said, for us in real life, it wasn't so fun. I do remember a certain TV actor that was taking my sister to a dance, and he came and picked her up, and it wasn't really her, because we wanted to see if he knew us apart. And I was driving down the street with him, and I remember I could hardly take it that he actually went through with it. because it was her boyfriend. And it was just too awful. So I was like, take me back. I'm really Monica. I'm not Leanna. Please take me back right now. And it was literally, that was probably the last time we ever purposefully changed, except in college. A couple times I got into my sister's apartment or dorm by just saying I was her. But that was pretty much it. That was it.
Well, that's a much happier note to end on. Did you take something while you were there?
Well, when our two sororities were like fighting cats and dogs, they used us as the secret weapons because I could always get into her house and she could always get into mine. Because no one really is going to challenge you and say, "Nuh-uh, who are you?" Like in high school, we'd walk through the halls and people would say, "Miss Creel," and they weren't going to say, "You're not supposed to be there," because I could always be one of the other ones. Right. So we've got away with a lot in that regard.
I love that you were a secret weapon.
Yeah, I like being a secret weapon.
Not a bad thing to be. So where can everyone find you on secret media?
Yeah. Ooh,
We're
the black market.
Exactly.
You can buy it with Bitcoin.
Yes.
Well, actually, my Instagram and my Twitter are at Mon Lacy, MonLacy. I have a website, www.monicalacy.com. Big surprise. I have Facebook that I'm posting interviews and a lot of stuff as the show starts and backstage passes. Oh my God, we're
Now we're at a
backstage
concert.
photos. Yeah. So I'm thinking about all the concerts that are coming up. Yeah. So and I love to hear from my fans because I have a really fun fan base from little kids to all the fans from my Parent Trap 3 days at Disney, who are about 30, 35 now. They're adorable. They're so sweet. And I've had such a good time in my little acting career.
Well, not so little and still going. So we look forward
Thank
to
you.
more wonderful things and
Thank
another
you.
season of The Kicks as well.
Yes,
and more
thank you.
AutoNation.
Yes. Hopefully you'll see me on AutoNation and not be too annoyed.
Never.
Because I'm very perky in those commercials.
Never. And I'm Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's Zoe Said What. You can also find me on YouTube at Zoe Hewitt Hosting, where I do a weekly movie analysis show. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.